All right, what's good, you pricks? Got another episode of the not so weekly show. The industry's been going crazy. There's preseason races going on. We got a lot of stuff to get into. We're gonna talk about the new Firebird, the new Fox stuff, new Ari Timp Peak e-bike, tons of US downhill stuff. We got a new Reverb. We got sick videos, a new Norco site, April Fool's Day. I don't know, there's just a ton of stuff to get into. So let's jump right in. So we got to start with the new Firebird. I have a lot of experience with the old bike and previous generations of the Firebird. It's no surprise that given the geometry and a few other things about that bike, it wasn't my favorite. I struggled to get along with it. So this was a massively anticipated bike from Pivot. And I would say, without a doubt, it's going to be a lot better than the old one. They came to the table with a ton of adjustability, kind of move things around in the right direction, but I can't help but be a little frustrated and like maybe just confused about, you know, the chainstay length. You guys know I'm gonna talk about the freaking chainstay length. So it's awesome they went longer and made it adjustable. They even shortened the reach a little bit. So everything's getting better, but in the long setting, it's a 443 and a 480 or a 485, depending on what geometry, depending on what wheel setup you're running. And I don't know, to me, it just befuddles me why they would choose 435 and 443. Me and Nick said this on the e-bike review. It's like every single bike manufacturer has a 480, 485, and a 443 geometry in a size large. Like that's like the bread and butter across the board. And from the old bike, it was a 437. Like, I don't know who wants a shorter chainstay than that. Like, nobody, I think, was wanting that out of the new bike. So for them to choose an even shorter chainstay length and make the long number kind of the moderate bread and butter, it doesn't make the bike stand out in any way. And I think it negates a lot of the value that the longer having an adjustable chainstay makes. And it's like super badass that they were able to do it with transmission, one of the few bikes that's available with that. But to me, it just makes no sense why they wouldn't have gone, you know, at the very least, just keep it the same as the old bike, 437. But I think going like 440 and then 448 with 8 mils of adjustment would have covered everyone. I would have been super stoked on it. All the short chain stayers I think are fine with 440. From a marketing and sales perspective, like that just has everyone covered. And I think they would legitimately sell more bikes if it had that number. And with the opportunity to have an adjustable chainstay bike to not cover that market, just is confusing to me. And in the review, all the reviews that I've seen, everyone says that they prefer it in the long mode. So it's like you basically, yeah, you have an adjustable chainstay, but when you make one of the options so unattractive where most people are going to the long one, it's like, well, what's the point of having an adjustable chainstay when everyone's just gonna huck it in the long mode? But maybe they're like, you know, on the vibe of, we didn't want to screw it up, and people from the race team like really like the old bikes, but that's confusing to me because I listened to I think it was the Downtime podcast with Bernard, and he said they were struggling with front end grip from Bernard. And it's like, his solution was to run it in the high mode. And they were like, oh, we found out the high mode, we had way more front grip, but it's not because of like, it is and it isn't. It's like the BB higher and the head angle steeper. Yes, it's gonna kind of get more grip on the front wheel, but really it's because you're shortening your front center. So it just makes me question whether even the race team is like thinking about the bike in this way. So it sounds like I'm absolutely hating on this bike. And I mean, I guess I kind of am, but it more just comes from a place like I want to love pivots because I think they're some of the most well-made bikes out there. I think DW is an excellent suspension platform and the bike looks pretty sick. Like I want to love the bike. It just, I feel like they miss an opportunity to really knock it out of the park. When you look at the Geo, it's like a mil and a degree off here and there from a 2020 Specialized Enduro. So Sure, I think the suspension probably is better on this bike, but when you look at the overall package, it's like, yeah, the 2020 Specialized Enduro, down tube storage, pretty solid build, and has almost the same geometry as this pivot. So I guess that's the thing I've been saying with new bikes when a lot of these come out is like, yeah, it's good, but really, you know, the value proposition is getting rougher and rougher. You know, especially with the prices of these new bikes. They're not getting any cheaper. Tariffs are coming. So we might have to wait for the, let's see, like 2030 Pivot Firebird to get around a 450 chainstay. 448, you know, would be okay. But this is what we got this time around. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But like I said, want to love the bike. It's just, to me, it's not anything that makes me jump out of my seat, or to me, it doesn't get me like super excited, although I do think it will be better. Next thing I wanted to talk about is USDH is absolutely firing. This is the best I've seen the scene maybe ever, you know, since I've been keeping an eye on it. We had the Tennessee National and the first round of the Monster Energy Pro Downhill Series. And the turnout for the Tennessee National was pretty insane. Aaron's been doing a ton of work to elevate the level of that event. And at this point, I feel like it's kind of one of the most high profile downhill races outside of an actual World Cup. We had Omri Piron and a bunch of other pros along with all the top US guys there. And one thing I liked was the broadcast. Came out for free on YouTube. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well produced. They had a massive amount of footage from the runs. It looks like we got almost the entire run. Commentary was decent, and there's not very many other downhill races that I see doing a proper broadcast like that. And I think that just elevates the amount of exposure for the event and gives sponsors a way bigger reason to want to invest, and it makes the event way more valuable for the riders if they do well. Just ups the exposure all the way through. And then the Monster Energy Pro Downhill Series course looked sick, you know, at both of those races, and the prize money is freaking legit. It's like $4 grand for a win. I think like 17K prize purse across the board. So I don't know. I see US Downhill is kind of taking the steps needed to establish itself as a super proper series. We're still in the process of recovering from the Pro GRT days, which is the last like actual downhill series nationally for the US, which was not that great. I see a lot of I think it's becoming more and more of a viable thing to go racing in the US, make money, get exposure for your sponsors, especially with the World Cup Downhill Series becoming maybe not as attainable for privateer level athletes. Just investing in the US circuit seems pretty damn viable. And I think Dante Silva and a handful of other world-class level riders are taking that route. So I love to see it. For racers in the US, that's a great thing. I mean, even other riders, yeah, I could see this Monster Energy Downhill Series growing to the point where it starts attracting riders from other countries who are looking to make a name for themselves in a series that has a good platform. So super stoked on US Downhill. I think it's at a really good spot, and I hope it just continues to grow and get more legit. But other product stuff, Fox released a whole line of product, new 36s, new 34, but the thing I'm most excited about is the new X2. The X2 platform has been good. I've ridden a lot of bikes that feel great with that shock, but I've mentioned it a few times in different reviews where I feel like that shock just kind of feels bound up, and it's composed, but it can make some bikes feel, I think, a little harsher than they need to be and harsher than they feel with other shocks. So I don't know, I'm excited to try the new one. I think even from a reliability perspective, that shock needed some improvements. I've had multiple versions of that shock that just blow out or have even come blown out. So more reliability and hopefully a little more free feeling damping characteristic is something that can benefit a lot of bikes with that shock, and that kind of seems to be the case with what I've seen from it so far. But I'll be interested to try it whenever I get the chance. We had a couple new e-bikes get released, the Norco Sight VLT. That thing looks pretty sick. Not anything crazy from a geo perspective, but it is a high pivot. The whole package of the bike just looks a lot better, lighter, kind of a high mid pivot. I say it looks cool just to say I'm not a Norco hater after the Grimace review. The Norco site actually looks pretty decent. It looks kind of like a high pivot Vala, which I'm not mad about, you know. The Vala rode pretty good, and it's interesting to see that like these Norco, high pivot Norcos from the review that Pink Bike did just seem to be super playful. It's something, it's not, I would never attribute playful and poppy with high pivots, but whatever Norco is doing, that's a characteristic that seems to be baked into those bikes, at least from the review that Stefan did for Pink Bike. The Ari Timp Peak, another FSR e-bike. I'm actually gonna have the opportunity to ride this in a couple days before Sea Otter. You know, it doesn't seem to be super groundbreaking, but has adjustable geo, mullet 29. You know, it's got our magic bread and butter 443, 485 number, another bike in that range, but it does seem like you can run an 800 watt hour battery. It's under 50 pounds for a full power e-bike, so, with downhill tires. So other things that might make it a pretty decent option at a reasonable price point. But yeah, I'm riding that in 2 days. We'll have a first impression video. New Reverb. I don't know. I don't see anything bad with it. I was a super big fan of the old AXS Reverb. Wireless droppers are dope. It's a bit cheaper, and it can come in super long boy options. So I've got nothing to hate on that. It has a bit of suspension when it's not fully extended. I don't know how that's going to be, but no wires on my dropper posts. I'm a fan of it if I can afford it, but I can't at this point. So RockShox, hit me up if you want to send me some seat posts. I'd be stoked on it. April Fool's Day was hella funny. Tons of long chainstay stuff that I got tagged in across all platforms, guys. I know, I saw it. The long chainstay stuff was funny. The one thing I want to say though is the Crossworks with the 720 mil uber long chainstay. Dude, that guy was actually kind of ripping in the video. He was shredding. Coincidence? I think not. Is it extreme? Yes, but I thought that was like, hey, it might not be as crazy as it seems. All right, what else? We had a lit ass movie come out from Trail Peak. Zach Peterson put together a full length dad cam movie called This Is NorCal. Your boy had a segment in there, plus a bunch more of NorCal's finest riders. We got a lot of talent out here, and I think Zach put together a killer piece that kind of embodies a little bit of the riding scene, at least from his perspective. But there's a ton of sick segments in there with great song choices. Vibes are up, good shredding, so go check that out. Especially if you want to see me ride in the third person, you know, not talking about a bike or any of this bullshit, and just riding, trying to do it like what I do. So check that out. Also, we had a Chris Ackrig and Alex Rankin edit. Anything that Alex Rankin touches, I'm a fan of, especially when he partners with Chris Ackrig. That dude is one of the sickest riders, and their segment in, I think it was like Earth 3 or whatever. I think they went to Japan, but Chris's riding is just inspired from a really unique perspective, and I love just how aggressive he is, even in the most technical terrain. It just looks like no other trials rider looks like they're attacking the terrain like that, and Chris just rides like he's angry, but it's hella smooth also. So that's a hard thing to balance, and yeah, there's just no one else that rides quite like Chris, and Alex captured it in a good way to a properly tasteful song that's definitely on brand for the both of them. But I don't know, it's been a while since I made a video. I think that's all that I'm inspired to cover. I spent the last 2 weeks in Taiwan, started work on an exciting project. I'll continue to tease it, but I'm gonna be making a bar and stem under a new company. So the ball's rolling on that. I've got some samples and some prototypes on the way. I'm not gonna release something if I don't think it's actually better than everything else on the market, or at least fills a gap that isn't being filled right now. So I'm stoked to kind of build a product that I believe in and a brand that can hopefully embody, you know, different projects down the road. Going to be a fun process to bring that whole project to life. Sea Otter is this upcoming week. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I want to race downhill. I don't really have a good bike to do it on, but I'm just going to go hang out, talk to people. Don't really have a big project, but it's just cool to be in the scene. If you see me there, say what's up. Happy to have a chat. I don't know. And if you guys have any cool ideas for me to do at Sea Otter, I guess let me know. I'm not like, I don't need to take on a massive project right now, but if there's any fun opportunities out there, I mean, I'm kind of down. We'll see what's up. I'll also have this bike and my giant e-bike for sale on the fence at Sea Otter. So I bought a fence bike last year. I'm selling fence bikes this year. I don't know, rolling with the punches, trying to fund my summer. So if you guys are interested in either of those bikes, let me know. Don't waste my time, but I am looking to sell these. I think I'm done with this video, kind of rambling, but thanks for watching. Hit me up on Patreon if you've been liking the content. Definitely subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.